it's kind of like if you hear the information presented to you once and you didn't pick it up immediately, it's because you're stupid. And like that, like otherwise, like you should just get it immediately. Otherwise, something is wrong. That was like kind of my mentality, and I just refused to ask for help.
Welcome to the Raising This Team podcast. I'm your host, Ross. Today I'm here with Raven Moten, a PhD candidate studying genetics and genomics at the University of Chicago and the daughter of my career coach. Raven, how are you?
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. I'm glad that you're here. Could you tell us a bit more about yourself and your journey so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm going into my fifth year of PhD studies at the University of Chicago in the genetics and genomics program, like you just mentioned. I have a broad research interest, I think, of cancer and genetics. So just understanding how our genes are perturbed and whatever mechanism, and then how that can lead to diseases downstream like cancer, but also other things. My main focus is in cancer. Um, I've been able to work on a variety of projects here and moving into my thesis work now. So I'll be working on brain cancers and a couple of genes that are implicated in, their specific pathogenesis. Um, I've had a lot of opportunities to work in mentorship and outreach through the Cancer Center at the University of Chicago, as well as some of the more within program mentoring opportunities. And I'm just having a hard time, but a good time, you know?
Understood. So can you walk us through your academic journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess I'll start a little bit earlier maybe than people typically would because I think it's relevant. So I was able to do 6th through 12th grade in at Cary Academy in North Carolina. I'm from Cary, North Carolina, and there they have a lot of really rigorous, I think, STEM education with kind of what you would expect, like AP biology and AP chemistry coursework. But I think that the teachers that I had in high school were really kind of cream of the crop. Like I think they were really, really, really excellent teachers, and they were really engaging with the students, myself included, obviously, to kind of challenge us with the curriculum, kind of beyond the AP exam, like, not really thinking about like how can you do well on this test, but thinking like, like what kinds of questions and things can we answer with biology and with chemistry and physics and things of that nature. Although personally, I hated physics. Yeah. So after college, I went to Northwestern University for 4 years, and I majored in biology with a concentration in genetics and genomics, funny enough. And then another major in public health. And I think that those two majors really complemented actually really nicely, especially because when I started Northwestern, I thought I was going to be pre-med. And so I think kind of studying uh, biology formally and then also public health sciences and kind of understanding healthcare policy and, kind of like honestly the deficits there. I think that information kind of synergized pretty well, especially for pre-medical training. However, halfway through Northwestern, I decided that I think, medical school is not really going to be for me. I, yeah, I just did not like it enough, to go through I think the application requirements, although the curriculum stayed the same. So at Northwestern, if you're a regular biology student or a pre-med biology student, you take the same coursework. It's just about, uh, applying afterwards, taking the MCAT. Those are the differences there. But anyways, when I decided I wasn't going to do pre-med anymore, I thought, well, let me try to get into research because that's typically, if you participate in biology, that's a typical experience that you're going to need uh, later on to kind of qualify you for a number of opportunities. So I got involved in research in a yeast genetics lab, which was very new and cool for me. I ended up committing, I think, fully to research, and so that's why I learned what a PhD was exactly, and where you can kind of go with that kind of training. And so then I took a gap year to be a tech through a program through the NIH called PrEP, post baccalaureate research education program, and that's hosted at the University of Chicago, actually, as well as a number of other institutions. And through that, they just kind of give you like extra research training. You work in a lab. They do lots of supplemental, exercises. Like you get to go to a conference, you get to do lots of presentations and attend seminars and things of that nature. And then, yeah, they also help you apply to graduate school, obviously. And then after that, I actually liked it so much that I wanted to stay at U Chicago. So now I'm here and hopefully not on my way out, but hopefully over halfway out the door.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
you started with your middle and high school level education. Now, how important or influential do you think that was? Was it to the point where you feel like if you hadn't done that, maybe your trajectory would have been different, or you think it just was maybe a added bonus type of thing?
I think it is uh, um, maybe not like it would have changed my trajectory in any kind of way, but I think that typically like a typical narrative that they give you when you're going to, like a competitive program, a competitive school, or a competitive major, or any of those kinds of things where they're like, this is really going to be, you're really going to be in the experience that's like as hard as it gets. Uh, Usually they, the reason why it is so hard is because it's like unlike anything you've ever experienced before, right? So maybe, a frequent thing that they talk about at Northwestern when you're a freshman is, oh, well, you're coming from your high school where you were, valedictorian, you were salutatorian, is that what you call it? The next one, whatever. You were the top of your class, right? And maybe you felt that your classes were easy and you didn't have to study and everything just came to you super like with very minimal effort. And then you get to Northwestern and it's like, well, that's the case of everybody here, right? Everybody was the top of their class. Everybody felt that they didn't have to study and that things came easily and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But actually, my high school was very hard. So, so I felt that it kind of broke the ice for me a little bit, where I felt like, people are like, "Oh, this is the first time that I've ever gotten a B," and I'm like, "This is not my first, this is not my first time getting a B or like even failing an exam." I had to really work for some components. Some of the things that I was studying in high school, I had to really work for it. And I think if I had first faced that kind of failure in college, it would have been brutal. But, in high school, bit better, bit lower stakes, more friends around, that kind of thing. So it was better.
Now that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's something I talked to my daughter about since she was probably in the third grade, and she's going to the 11th grade now. But
Oh,
um,
exciting.
yeah, we're getting close to graduation, which is
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exciting and scary all at the
Yeah.
same time. But I would always tell her, whatever you're doing, whatever topic you're on, I don't care if you think it's easy. I don't care if you think it's hard. Put in that same process, that same amount of work, because
Yeah.
eventually, that's going to just be the case. You're going to have to put in that work. So you just get used to it. And whatever it is, you just approach it the same. And it
Yeah,
sounds like you were
absolutely.
able to kind of get that through your, middle and high school education.
Yeah, at least, get started. I mean, college was significantly harder than high school, but at least it wasn't like the first time I had felt that something was hard for me. I actually had a really hard time with AP Chem. Yeah, very hard time. It did not come easily to me at all.
Yeah, my daughter, she'll be taking that. I don't know. Maybe, I think, I don't know if it's this year or next year, but yeah, we'll see how that goes.
She's going into 11th grade. Yeah, that's when I
Yes.
took it, going
Mhm.
in 11th grade. Yeah, that really knocked me flat. Don't tell her I said that, though. I don't want to scare her.
No, we have to figure out a way to sort of prepare, though. Yeah, so it's
Mm,
good to know that tends to be challenging. But are
mm.
you the first person in your family to pursue a career in STEM in general or science in particular?
Um, yeah. Yes. So, in my immediate family, yes, I'm the first to pursue anything in STEM. Um, so like, mom siblings, that kind of thing. I'm the first one. But I did have a cousin who he was a physician, and he had trained at Duke and I believe UCLA for some period of time, and so it was actually really helpful at the time when I was applying to kind of like be able to speak to somebody about, okay, I'm really gunning to the top, I suppose. Or, I really want to push myself. I really want to be somewhere academically rigorous. I thought at the time, but yeah, it was helpful to speak to him about that when I was applying and thinking about where to go at different stages of my trajectory. But yeah, as far as immediate family, I'm the first one to do STEM.
Mm. And so, did you pursue a science degree because of the pre-med? Was that the reason, or you just like science in
Oh,
general?
I like science in general. I think when I was in high school, I honestly could not tell you a career for someone who is interested in biology that was not medicine. So I think I didn't know what else you could do. I'd like yeah, if you had asked me when I was a sophomore or even a senior in high school, like what does a PhD do? I couldn't tell you. I would not have been able to I really only understood what a PhD was if you were studying humanities. I couldn't tell you what it was if you wanted to do something in life sciences, for in my case. And so yeah, I was following the pre-med track just because I felt that that's like the natural progression of things until I found out there are actually quite a number of other jobs you can pursue besides a physician. Yeah, so I just exposure was the limiting factor there.
Gotcha. And since you're here and you figured it out, what a PhD does.
I
Could you
think I
tell us?
know a little bit more now.
Could you let us know what a PhD does then?
Right. So the main focus is research. So in my case with life sciences research, well, I guess biomedical life sciences research. If you're interested in like understanding things in the context of human disease and understanding how to like create novel, interventions and therapeutics and things that are going to be for like the betterment of human well-being, as opposed to just kind of like for building out our basis of knowledge generally, which you would call basic science. Yeah, I would say now it's running experiments, reading literature, going to like seminars and meetings to kind of converse with other scientists, and using all these different tools around you, which are both people as well as actual like facilities and things at an institution to kind of drive a specific project to completion, right? So I would say what your institution is looking for at the end of the day for to give you the accreditation of a PhD is like you are able to contribute meaningfully to the body of knowledge within a specific discipline. So mine would be actually, mine will probably be more like cancer genetics and genomics. But yeah, you want to just complete a full project and go from, kind of the curiosity and like initial questions all the way through to developing your strategy to answer those questions and then synthesizing the information that you develop into a body of work that you will then show to the world. But, the body of work is like this big, right? And your contribution will be just as like one little dot right there, but it'll be your little dot. You know what I
For
mean?
sure, for sure. No, it's important because that you know full set that you showed is from let's say I don't know hundreds of thousands, if not millions of hours if you add it all up for each individual in a bunch of years in
Yeah.
chronological time. So it's
Yeah. It's a big commitment for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, you're adding to the body of human understanding knowledge, and in
Mm.
your case, a lot of useful, at least potentially useful work. So
Applicable. Yeah. Is I think that, yeah, like, yeah. So like my, things that, in cancer departments and people who are in labs that are associated with the hospital, yeah, everything is kind of driven toward, well, what's the therapeutic advantage here? Or how could we, you know, moderate symptoms better, or how could we, figure out a way to deliver a drug better, things like that. So and I do kind of feel motivated by the human aspect of it, as opposed, some people really just want to know, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's just it all ends up being useful regardless. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm definitely more toward the translatable side, which I enjoy. Yeah.
Great. So, I mean, along your journey, have you had mentors along the way, or do you feel like you more so had to figure things out on yourself, a little 50-50, or what do you think?
Yeah. So I think, well, I would say like there's a lot of figuring things out, right? When you want to, you always want to find like a career path or opportunity, whatever that's a good fit for you, right? Like not that like you don't want to like change yourself to fit the pathway, right? You want to find the pathway that already fits, your interests, your goals, things that you want for yourself, that kind of stuff. And so in that sense, I think building that pathway for yourself is very much like I mean, everybody's got to figure that out for themselves, right? Like, learn more about yourself, learn more about things that you're good at, things that you want to be good at, things that you like, things that you don't like. And from that sense, yeah, it's definitely more of a independent journey. But I think mentors are definitely supposed to be there as you're like I'm thinking of like the bumpers on the bowling alley, like like they're just there to like kind of like guide you a little bit and keep you from going too far out bounds. And I think that the skill of finding mentors that can help you for achieve the goal that you're looking for is a skill in itself that you definitely have to develop at some point. I've had a um, I've had a lot of really good mentors at different stages, and obviously each mentor is doing something a little bit different for you each time. First mentor that I think is the most meaningful. You already know her. My mom, my mom has been, day one supporter of everything. Even when I'm like not really sure like what's going on, she's just constantly sourcing opportunities for me. Like, you should do this to talk to this person to learn about this, and you could also do this, and you could talk to this person, and you could talk to this person. And just like starting my little network for me before I even really understood what networking was. So, um, yeah, she's definitely been someone who's been there to guide me, but also teachers, some teachers who are just, more invested if you take the time to build out that relationship. And then some other like African American scientists that I've met along the way who have been really, really helpful, especially just because, you're like, you know, just matter of fact, you're not going to really meet a lot of them along the way if you're black and you want to be in STEM. So, there people definitely like step up to the plate and kind of like are willing to like invest in you and tell you about their story and tell you about resources that they identified and kind of ask the questions that they, had asked themselves at the time, or maybe they wish they'd asked themselves at that time to like give you more information and help you figure out, yeah, that pathway that's going to be the best for you. Yeah. So, um, informal mentors in that way have been uh, critical. And then obviously in a PhD, you have a formal mentor who is like your thesis advisor. The like, and then in the sciences, that's like you know, you're in their lab, right? So they have kind of like this research program that they're running for them for the people the team that they work with, and then you're joining that team as a graduate student to kind of you'll have like your own independent component, but that's certainly well integrated with the projects that are going on around you. Um, and so that thesis mentor in a graduate level education is also obviously um, invaluable, right? Like they're supporting you by helping you to write and think of ideas and discuss topics and sending you papers, and but also also like supporting you like when you know experiments fail, you don't know what to do, maybe you mismanage the project, they're there to support you and like kind of guide you through their process. They also help you to access their network of academics and or startup people or biotech and VC, whatever whatever their connections are. They also are bridging the gap for you there as well. So that person definitely plays a huge role in your graduate experience. The
Mm,
biggest, I would say, the biggest role in your your graduate experience. Yeah.
mm. So what are some challenges you've faced along your journey so far, and how'd you overcome those?
Yeah. So I would say the first big, challenge in general was the bio major at Northwestern. Yeah, like I said earlier, it was really it was really hard. I think I think there are a lot of people who like I don't know, just like to get up faster. I don't know. I really had to like work for every every single concept. I was like very confused all the time. I would say, especially in the beginning years, I just refused to ask for help. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where that was coming from, or like I just kind of felt like, well, I should know, or like I'm just not working hard enough, which in some cases was true. But everybody's figuring things out during college. But yeah, it was kind of like if you hear the information presented to you once and you didn't pick it up immediately, it's because you're stupid, and like that, like otherwise, like you should just get it immediately, otherwise something is wrong. That was like kind of my mentality, and I just refused to ask for help, which was its own little uh I don't know, like mind thing to get over at across college. But yeah, the curriculum itself was also very hard despite my own mental hurdles. The material itself is actually quite challenging. um I think applying to graduate school is very hard as well. It's just like very um, it's just a lot. It's a kind semi long application process, I guess, in that you have interviews as well. And preparing for those was really um, quite a lot of work. Practicing your like short talk and how you want to talk about your research and how you want to communicate what you're interested in. Those kinds of things were a bit challenging. Yeah, and I think then in graduate school, just like constructing and managing like all of it is hard. So just managing a project is very difficult, especially when this is your first time doing it. Obviously, like I don't know how to get a PhD yet. I'm learning how to get a PhD, so it's a lot of independence, which is in theory supposed to be guided, but you have to do part of it on your own. So it just the whole process is just a a lot of skill building. Yeah, a lot of skill building.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to Raising the Steam. If you're enjoying this conversation, make sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, whether it's YouTube, your favorite podcast platform, or our website. Your subscription helps us keep bringing you insightful conversations about careers in STEM and STEAM and how people can accelerate their journeys in these fields. Don't forget to leave a review or comment to let us know what you think. Now let's get back to our guests. So genetics and genomics seems to lend itself to a lot of data. A lot of data tends to lends itself to data analytics, especially nowadays. Data analytics tends to lend itself towards AI models. Um,
Mm.
are you seeing that to be the case, and how do you think AI might affect your research and feels like yours in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right, because I think everybody in any discipline or sphere or market or whatever is kind of dealing with that all at the same time. How is AI going to affect how they move forward? Um, I think there are a lot of uh, there are probably a lot of like a lot of things to consider. Thinking about AI and genetics and genomics. One thing I would say in particular is genetics, right, is uh like a core a core discipline of life sciences generally, and in biology is like a very like genetics is not, there's some biology where only some people work on that. Everybody doesn't know a lot about that because only if so whatever, but like everybody does something that's somewhat related to DNA and genes. And so I think that especially when you're trying to comment on things related to genetics and genomics, because scientists know it very well, the way that they communicate it in like commonplace uh, kind of gets a little, there's like not good communication. So I think like maybe just because scientists are like constantly talking about things related to genetics and genomics, maybe the communication to a layperson is not so good. Maybe I mean I guess I'm kind of assuming that the reason why is because we're all so familiar with it, but there could be other reasons as well. But anyway, I think that a lot of times there's a lot of data misrepresentation and a lot of false conclusions that are drawn from genetic and genomic from genomic data specifically, and I think that was likely to be exacerbated with AI models, given that those are trained on, those are trained on data sets, but it is they're everything is it's all biased
Yeah,
from
because the data needs context to be fed, and
right,
if that
exactly.
context is somehow, for lack of a better term, flawed, then the
Right.
results from it are going to be
Exactly.
flawed as well.
Exactly. So I think that that is something that people will have to kind of um, keep in mind, I guess, in building their models, especially with genomic data about like, how we're coming to conclusions about things. I mean, we've seen that kind of we've seen examples, I guess, in the last presidential election time. What can happen when you kind of like take a study that's trying to make some kind of correlation or relationship between two different variables and kind of how that can like spin into things that are more like in line with like eugenics or like things that we like don't support scientifically. So it's very you got to be very careful, I think, especially if you're going to be running things through um, models that are taken out of context.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting. So now that you're a little older and can reflect on what helped you get to where you are, what advice would you give parents who have kids who might be interested in science?
Oh, yeah, man. I wish I could bring bring my mom in here. What advice would I give to parents? Um, yeah, I think that there are like there are a lot of opportunities and outreach programming type things like within institutions, within different like NGOs that are like kind of like targeting like getting kids involved in STEM and stuff. And I think that there's no such thing as too early exposure. Like it all helps. So I think like, if they're kind of interested in it, just like try to throw them into things as soon as possible. Yeah, because like I just think like it only gets harder. So I think like the earlier you can kind of be exposed to like a research lab or like a course or like a mentor who is like in college or something. I think that the earlier the better. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my first time speaking with you, but as we said, I've been speaking with your mother for quite a while.
Mm.
Your mom, I think, is an incredibly intelligent person. You strike me as a very intelligent person. But how important do you feel that just sort of natural intelligence is? In other words, do you feel that nature or nurture is more important in for success in STEM fields?
Mm. Yeah, my mom says all the time, intelligence comes from the mother. Like, she loves she loves saying that all the time. Um, yeah, I think I actually do think it's well, let's say like in natural intelligence. That's a bit difficult, right? Because do you mean like you perform well on a test, or like you synthesize information really quickly, or like you're a good writer, or you have really mature social skills for your age? Like that's kind of like difficult to say, like how you might measure like natural intelligence.
That's a
But
good point. And when I say it, I'm thinking of the second thing you said, which is sort of how you process, synthesize, and then are able to articulate information. Not
mm,
necessarily the articulate part, but that's the only way I'll know is because you've articulated it. But like when I'm speaking with you, I can tell that I'll say something, and then the gears start turning on your side, and it seems to me that the output has gone through a process that seems refined. I don't know for lack of a better term.
yeah, I see
Um,
what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, that's what I mean when I say natural intelligence.
Um. So I think that's like probably a mix, right? Like I think. Um, yeah, I'm sure there's like some component of like this individual like happens to be faster at picking up patterns and or like faster at like bringing ideas together, and they get faster at articulating that back to you or whatever. But I do think it's a lot of nurture, especially in STEM, because I think it's so it's very difficult, first of all, but I think that there's like a lot of like you just kind of have to like do it a lot, and then you'll get better. And I think that everybody experiences that to a degree. Like even people who come in, it's like this is the smartest person, you know, I've ever met in my life. You know, they're still gonna, you know, improve across their time
Hmm.
in their training. So, you know, I guess it's kind of answering an adjacent question, but I think that regardless of whether or not, you know, it's natural, it is, you know, being in STEM like lends itself to your skills or not should not dissuade you from trying to be successful in this sphere if you want to be. So I think that there's a lot of like, you know, you can just learn if you just, you know, keep trying, keep applying yourself. If you know, if this is what you want to do. But yeah, I'm sure there's some elements of like, you know, some people are like naturally going to be better at this, but I don't think, you know, that's true of anything. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be, it shouldn't discriminate, you know, who gets to participate. So yeah, I think, you know, you just it's more about the effort, more about the effort.
No, I totally agree. And I mean, I've seen cases where people who have that, what I'm calling natural intelligence, do well and sometimes don't do well. And then I've
That's
seen
true.
people,
They could also not do well,
right.
even having, yeah, even lending themselves to the, yeah, even having skill sets that lend themselves to the activity. So that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, people who aren't as high on, I guess, my scale on that,
Mm.
and do exceedingly well, right? And I think
Right.
what it comes down to is what you said is just that, you know, the effort and that stick to itiveness, as one might say.
Yeah, and honestly, they'll tell you that. Yeah, like for anyone that studies. Well, I guess it could be anything, but I have really heard a lot being in STEM, and they just tell you like, oh wow, I like oh, resilience. Like everything is like you gotta learn to be resilient. You gotta be learn to be resilient. They tell you that year after year after year after year, and it's just like, you know, it never gets easier. You just get better at it. You know, that kind of rhetoric. Yeah.
Right. Right. And how important do you think soft skills and networking skills are, and how influential have those been in your journey?
Extremely. And I think that that's one thing that I think that I would say, you know, leaning back to the last question, I think that's something that has my skill set has made it easier for me to do that portion. And I think that I would attribute that like to some of my success. I would say that social skills or, or like the value that's put on social skills can sometimes be underappreciated in very technical fields. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna like that's my politician's approach to that question. But it's important, right? Like you can't everything is not gonna be like, you know, oh well, you know, if I got 100% on this test, you know, everybody's gonna want to hire me after that. It's like, listen, there are so many people out here who are just, you know, they just knew the right people, they connected with the right people. Like people aren't gonna go look for you who got the 100 on the test. They're looking for people who like are gonna, you know, are integrated with the people around them and like are looking for the opportunities and preparing themselves for the opportunities. So you got to be able to talk to people too. You know, you also have to be, you know, searching, putting yourself out there, that kind of stuff. So you know, it, getting to where you want to go is it's more than just being smart. You gotta be well rounded. Like you have to also be like developing yourself as a person too. So I
For
think,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I think
because I mean, there's that skill set, but when we start getting to the work world, the people you work with are people we spend probably a lot of times more time than we do with our families, waking hours at least. And I
true.
mean, people don't necessarily want to hire someone who is highly skilled but extremely unpleasant, right? So it's like,
Yes, yes, man. Wish we could put that on a like a billboard. Like it doesn't matter if you're smart, if everybody hates you. Yeah, you gotta be like a nice person as well,
mm,
or like you can even be nice, but like able to like communicate. You know what does it matter if you understand the most complicated ideas ever in the world if you can't ever communicate that to anyone around you? You know,
right.
like you have to be able to speak, you have to be able to be personable, you have to be other things beyond smart. Yeah, very valuable.
Now, can you talk about the different paths someone who's interested in pursuing a PhD in science can take besides academia?
Yeah. When you're in academia, they'll definitely pitch it to you as there's academia and then there's industry. And like those are like your two options. But really, realistically, there's a number of things that you can do in academia that, beyond being a professor, you can just be an instructor, you can be a part of like a core facility, those kinds of like institutional support roles beyond like driving your own research lab. But paying more attention to the other option, industry, industry is like 1,000 different careers. They kind of they make it binary, but yeah, realistically, industry just means anything that's not affiliated with an institution. So you could be um, like you could be in biotech, so you could be like a venture capitalist. You can work as a someone who supports you invests money in startups. You could make your own startup. You could do things that are kind of like more closely related to finance. So you could do like bioequity research, which is like working for a bank to kind of like see how companies that are in the life sciences are performing and then write reports on that. You can be a science writer, so you can be someone who kind of like is in the business of communicating complex scientific ideas to a more common audience, which is an important and difficult skill. You can run a journal, an academic journal, so these papers get published and they get reviewed by people, and you can be more involved in that process. You can be an industry scientist. You can work as a researcher for like a pharmaceutical company or a med tech company, a company that makes like medical devices. You can do all kinds of sales positions. So all this equipment and reagents that are constantly being, improved and developed or whatever, someone's got to go out and share that information with the people who are using it. So, you can travel around and like, showcase like microscope technology or like different kinds of reagents for like a specific discipline of biology. There's honestly so much you can do. There's also like more basic things that you can kind of like, if you want to kind of move away from science, if you've had this kind of training, graduate level training in theory, right, you know how to manage a project, right? You know how to manage a long-term project. These
Right.
people are working here and working on the same thing for 4 to 7 years. So, you know how to take something from nothing to the end of a finished project. And so that skill in itself is valuable in a lot of different spheres that aren't even related to science, right? So people can go into consulting, they can go into like project management in a number of different fields. It's kind of like a you kind of you can kind of like take these skills that you've developed, the soft skills that you mentioned before, the soft skills that you're developing, and kind of like pivot that into a number of different things. So yeah, it's very interesting. Like academia or industry, like industry could mean a number of different things.
Mhm.
um, I would say the most popular thing at this point in time is likely like a scientist in pharma or a scientist at a big research uh, uh, company or something of that nature. But yeah, I think as those kinds of positions are kind of filling up, whatever, they're not always readily available, and academia itself is also kind of maxing out on positions as well.
Mhm.
PhDs are more than ever really diversifying what next steps look like. It's
Mhm.
not really you know you do a PhD, you do a postdoc, you become a professor, or you do a PhD, you get hired at pharma, and then you just work your way up. It's definitely getting a lot more inclusive of other kinds of careers.
Right.
Given leaning into that soft skill development, like you're prepared to do more than just experiments. You can do a lot. You can do a lot of different things.
Mhm. So we've talked a lot about like soft skills, but in technical skills, but in the work context mostly. What do you do to balance just work life with your personal life in your case?
Um, Yes, I'm currently, I'll tell you, I'm currently in the market for some new hobbies. So right now, so right now, I'm trying out different things. My friend is trying to get me to like crochet. I used to do that, but I don't really like it so much anymore. I got a pastels kit, like to like, I'm looking for like independent with your hands kind of hobbies. So if you have any recs, let me, let me know. But I really like to read a lot. I used to do it more than I do now, but like reading fiction, obviously not science papers. That's definitely not what I mean. Um, and then I mean, I'm in Chicago, so there's always stuff to do here. So it's summertime shy, just out and about, chilling by the lake, going to different kinds of like free events and festivals. Yeah, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to find like a artistic outlet, I guess. I suppose you could say.
So that sounds very intentional. So it's something you're actively
Yeah,
pursuing.
yeah, because I think most of my free time is like spent with like is spent with people, so like if it's like I have free time, what would I like to do? I'd like to go spend time with my friends. I'd go spend time with my husband. I like to spend time like getting to know people or whatever at like some of the clubs and things that I'm involved in on campus. But I'm trying to find something that's like this is something that like just Raven does, so like video games or something. I don't have any video game consoles, but I'm trying to figure it out.
Right. So, what message do you have for either high school or college students who might want to earn a PhD in the science field?
Yeah, so my advice is like just keep going. You know what I mean? Like I think that there's a kind of like a there's kind of like a uh, tendency to think like if it's not going well or it's seeming too hard to like immediately think, oh, I just can't do it, and then to like quit. And in the case of where you feel like, well, I both don't like it and I'm not good at it, yeah, maybe in that case it's not for you. But I think that if you like what you're doing and you just feel like you're not quite good at it yet, just because you didn't get an A or you don't have like a 4 point something by the time you graduate doesn't mean that like you would never be you'll never make it, right? Like you can never get any further than whatever. There's all kinds of ways to like uh kind of like find a different pathway, pivot, connect with somebody, get an internship, find another opportunity that gets allows you to continue getting the training that you're interested in getting. Um, and so, yeah, you just gotta like, yeah, it's like that resilience. Like you just gotta keep going, right? So even if it doesn't look like it's going well, if you still like what you're doing, then just, yeah, you just gotta kind of like put those horse blinders up. Don't worry about people telling you you're not gonna make it, you're not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Like don't ever let anybody else tell you what you can and can't do. Just keep going. And, I sincerely believe if your intentions are good and you're still thinking you're still thinking about like what's best for you and what you want at large, then you can't possibly go wrong. So I mean obviously like don't do it. Wait, I don't want to like sign off on like I'm saying go do something crazy. Still think through it, but I think as long as you just keep trying, like try not to get discouraged because it's anything. I think anything in STEM is long and hard. So, but if you want to be here, that's worth it enough, right? Like, don't let other people prescribe to you, what you should or shouldn't do. Just keep going if it's what you want.
Absolutely. And for those who want to dive deeper into genetics and genomics in particular, are there any resources you recommend for people who want to learn more about that?
Right. So like genetics and genomics in particular, I think well, okay. I mean, there's a number of things, right? Like you like a lot of like reading or like kind of like online courses and things that help you to learn more about like different themes, right? Genetics and genomics is like so all encompassing. Like you definitely got to put that in chunks of like uh, more specific subsets. But I would say something that I wish that I had done at as early as possible in my training to like kind of prepare you to be involved in genomics specifically is coding. And so I think now there are a number of like online courses that are free or like discounted for students or like subsidized through some other mechanism. But I really wish that I had taken like those kinds of tutorials and classes a little bit more
Mm,
seriously, so that it only helps
right.
being able to kind of like do kinds of um, complex computation with a computer. So I think yeah, I really wish that I had getting into learning a language. Yeah.
Interesting. So, what type of languages are you seeing in your field? Is it Python, R, or
Yeah,
what is it?
mostly R and Python. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
those. I mean, those are probably other people do. Yeah, other people have like more, um,
Not a whole
more.
lot of C++.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, I think just R and Python. I think is good to go.
Okay, gotcha. So I mean, you've definitely come a long way and done a lot of awesome things, and you still have some time left in pursuing your academic goals. But if you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself if you were a child?
Yes, like high school or like
Like small child,
oh small
like let's
child.
say from I don't know, between 5 and 9. What would you tell a
5 and
little
9.
Raven?
Little Raven. Oh my gosh, I would tell her to stop talking so much in class. Number one, distracting everybody around you. It's annoying. But okay, but then second from that, yeah, I think I really would just like lend. I mean, going back to kind of one of the first questions, like just because it's like immediately hard doesn't mean you can't do it. Yes,
Hmm.
it's just sometimes things are hard, but you can do it anyways, you know? Like it's okay. People, we can do hard things, you know? It
Hmm.
just because you couldn't get it right immediately on the first time doesn't mean like you can't ever do it ever. You know, just gotta take it easy, relax a little bit, lower your expectations for yourself, kind of temper those a little bit better. And yeah, you can do it even though it's hard.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, Raven, congratulations on everything you've accomplished so far, and there's so much more to come. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
watching it all unfold.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And thank you for being here today, Raven.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Raising the Steam for more useful content. Leave a review or comment to help us grow and continue bringing you valuable interviews, resources, and events. I'm your host, Tim Ross. See you next time.